Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is taking stock. The new year's coming. It's a great time to look at what has transpired over the previous year in a conscious and deliberate way so we can look at the tragedies and triumphs and lessons and learnings and all the ways that we have grown and shifted over the course of the past year in a little bit early preparation for setting intentions that are in alignment with our deepest selves for the coming year. So should be a fun conversation. And before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your molecules, your cells, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together and vigorously rub your hands together and feel the friction and the temperature and the pressure, the sensations, the tickling and tingling, and allow all of that to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to be here with you this morning, and welcome Rosalind and everybody else who's joining us. We're talking about taking stock because the new year is approaching, where we have this somewhat artificial but also really powerful marker to create a transition, to create. Good morning, Jenny. Welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. So we're looking at this end of year, end of cycle, endings, new beginnings, and it's a really good opportunity to take stock, and not in a judgmental way, but in a way that allows us to consciously acknowledge what has occurred for us throughout the previous year. You know, how we've grown, and of course the questions that we ask are going to shape this inquiry. So I think it's valuable to be looking at questions like, how have I grown over the past year? So Jenny says transgressions. So here's the thing. When we talk about taking stock, it has a connotation of a critical eye to it, you know, like passing judgment on who we've been, how we've been, what our transgressions have been, you know, what are the sins, sort of thing. And I'm not talking about like original sin or anything, but you know, the things that we feel less than great about. And we can, what I encourage all of us to do is to look with a compassionate eye on the previous year, you know, to look back and see, well, what actually happened over this past year, and rather than transgressions and judgments, looking at how we can grow from our awareness of what's happened, how we have grown as a result of what has happened in our lives. So Jenny says, I think of it as changing the direction you're heading to. And so the thing is, you might be heading in a great direction. I would venture to, good morning, Rukmini, welcome. And I don't think I've seen you here before, so welcome. We're talking about taking stock of where we are so that we can set intentions for where we want to go. We might be wanting more of, there are certain things that are wonderful that have happened over the past year. I'm venturing to say that that's the case for all of us, that there must be some things that are pretty wonderful. And we can recognize those things, and in recognizing them, we empower them, we give energy to them, and that enables those things to carry forward with even greater momentum. And then there are things that perhaps we have noticed in ourselves that we would like to transform. And so that's also part of taking stock. Oh, that's so interesting, Rosalind. In terms of word origins, Rosalind's saying is taking stock and agricultural saying, I bet it is, where because you're talking about livestock and you probably are counting your chickens and counting your sheep. That may be taking stock. Very interesting. And the thing is that when you're counting, the numbers themselves are neutral, right? The interpretation of the meaning of the numbers, that's a whole different thing, but the numbers themselves are neutral. Good morning, Bernadette. So good to have you here with us. We're talking about taking stock, from looking back on the year. And I'm not a big fan of living in the past, and that's not what I'm advocating here. But I am suggesting that by looking at, like, maybe even I'm going to think about how I would do it, like what I'm going to do to really become aware of what the last year has brought. Because we can be looking at the past year for its curses or its blessings, or both, to recognize the light and the dark of all of it. So what we might do is look through a calendar, look through what happened in that calendar. There are other it can provide clues as to the things that occurred in the previous year. Maybe you journal, and you could take a look back through your journal entries to see where you were and to notice what is different and how you've transformed since that time, and also notice what isn't different. And maybe that some of those things can be the source for intentions for the coming year. I'm not a big proponent of resolutions. I am a big proponent of intentions. And so we'll be discussing more of that as we're getting closer. Today is Wednesday, then we have tomorrow and Friday to be talking about resolutions and welcoming in the new year. And I think that we can elevate this to an important ritual that is really life affirming if we choose to. There's no mandate to do that, but why not take the opportunity to use this as a time of growth and awareness and evolution. Bernadette says, by looking backwards, you can see all you have accomplished. And so I think that that's an important thing. Not just things in the world, but internal experiences of shift and growth and change. What's opened up for you? So in terms of powerful questions, we can be looking at what's opened up. How have I expanded? What is different in my awareness, and how can I forward that even more? Bernadette says, no, Jenny says, it's brought me the connection to this lovely group this past year. Well, that's powerful, Jenny. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And, for me, this has been so rich to be sharing these conversations with you, and to be recognizing the things that have shifted and changed, and allowing ourselves to step into those shifts and changes is really super powerful. So Rukmini says, how will be my future in 2023? Yes. So we don't want to predicate the possibilities of our future based on our past. That's kind of the delicate line, or the tightrope we get to walk, because we don't want our past to dictate our future. We can live each new day newly, so that it's not bound to our past. Like, we don't have to have this continuity of things, that particularly of things that are less than desirable, right? So Bernadette says, my daughter and I pick a word for the year. I love that. I know I've done that, and it's super powerful, like completing, compassionate, understanding, etc. I love that idea, Bernadette. That's a brilliant idea. And I think that I had a conversation with one of my clients where the word reclamation came up, reclamation of like deep soul self. And when we've felt lost, or we've felt in this context, the reclamation was about reclaiming our awareness, our presence to our truest being. That's what it was about, is reclaiming the knowledge, the understanding, the awakening of, or to our essential being. So that was kind of a wonderful word. Another wonderful word is essence, to be living from that space of our essential selves. So this is awesome, Bernadette. Thank you for sharing that. And hopefully we'll remember to bring that back up again tomorrow and Friday, when we're looking more at this transition, this completion. So the let me think. One of my clients came up with this C3, and I'm trying to remember what the 3 C's were, but it was a cycle of completion for the prior year, and an opening into the new year, this transition. So hopefully I'll check that out to share with you, because it was so elegant. But part of this process is to find completion from the prior year, like to actually close and complete the prior year in order to be able to start the next year anew, and to be looking at what are the things that we're looking forward to, or that are our intentions, and to bring some imagination into the new year. We can also be bringing imagination into the year that is passing by looking at the seeds that have been sown for new possibility and potential. So as we gain in awareness, that new awareness opens up new vistas of possibility and potential. And so looking back at the year with a lens for treasure hunting. Let's say it that way, rather than what was it? Rather than looking for transgressions and the things that we need to make amends for. Um, Maybe we can look back at the year with the intention to find the hidden treasures, or the treasures sitting out in the open. Jenny says self-reflection and set new goals. Absolutely. So I'm not about setting goals, and I'll tell you why. And I think that resolutions are a lot like goals in a certain way, but maybe we'll talk about the nuances around that. But I'm not all about setting goals, because goals are kind of black and white. You either achieve the goal or you don't. Goals are kind of time-bound expectations, whereas intentions, and we've talked about this a bunch, intentions, we don't necessarily know how that intention is going to manifest. So for instance, with clients, I have supported them in setting intentions that their relationships would deepen and evolve to a new level. Now, the thing is that we don't know how that's going to happen, right? We don't have to know how it's going to happen. We just can have that intention. And even when things are going awry, or look like things are going awry, we can create a reset for ourselves and recommit to that intention, resource that intention for ourselves. Whereas a goal is, I think that the energy behind a goal is we try to make it happen. And intention is creating the field, allowing the space for that thing to happen. So Rosalind says, throwing expired items from the pantry and fridge, and probably should donate canned foods to the food bank. Rosalind, that's such a good idea. I remember, this is so funny. When my mom was moving, she had a pantry with all kinds of canned items. And we went through the pantry, and honestly, some of those canned items were more than 10 years old. I mean, they had been there for frickin' forever. It was crazy. And so it's a great idea to be, getting rid of expired items. The other thing is about expired items, though, is part of the expiration date on a lot of things is a marketing ploy, to get us to buy more and get rid of things that don't necessarily need to be gotten rid of in that time frame. So there's a balance there, but if you're finding something in your pantry from 2012, it's probably a good bet that maybe you could release it. I love that idea. And Bernadette says, making the small steps in finding the gems. LOL. Well, Bernadette, that's awesome. You know what? Every step counts. And sometimes we need to take small steps in order to be able to acclimate, step by step, because if we take giant leaps, that can be more disruptive sometimes than just taking small steps little by little. And what can happen, and I've seen this wonderfully exciting thing with a client where we've been taking small steps, setting intention, affirming attention, and then now the action is starting to gain momentum out of inspiration rather than out of a mandate, out of a demand. So, this is in relation to decluttering, which felt incredibly overwhelming and overpowering. And so little by little, we've just affirmed the intention to declutter. And now it's actually starting to happen. And as it's happening, there's a reward for that in seeing and feeling the openness of space that then reinforces and accelerates that intention. So intention's super powerful. versus setting a goal or a resolution, like do um, I'm gonna do something X amount of time. So we've done both with this, we set an intention and made a commitment to do this thing. And there was all kinds of resistance that came up, and then we got more involved in setting the space and setting the field for the potential of that. And now it's actually manifesting in action that is coming from a space of inspiration, which is the ideal. That's where we want to be operating from, is a space of inspiration. That's where the action best comes from, rather than enforcing that action. So Jenny says, refresh intentions to what you want in your life, right? And what your desire is, what's reflective of your soul. Exactly. So and the thing about setting those intentions, I'm going to coach folks to say that those intentions are best served when they have to do with our beingness. So there may be intentions to, let's say, declutter. Okay. So, or there may be a deep desire to declutter. Well, the intention underneath that is to create spaciousness, right? To create a greater sense of freedom where you don't feel burdened by all this stuff. So if you can feel into that intention, creating this sense of spaciousness, then that's creating the field where the decluttering can occur, if that makes sense. And that's where our greater power is in creating this field for something to manifest. Rather than trying to force the thing into manifesting, we create the condition from which that situation emerges. And the condition is a field of energy, a field of potential and possibility. So Rosalind says, is prayer a desire for something? Oh, there's such a great conversation to be had about prayer. And today isn't that day. However, I'm going to just say, when we beg in prayer, oftentimes we're setting up a resistance. When we instead presence ourselves to the gratitude of the receiving, that's a whole different kind of prayer. When we presence ourselves to the connection with the greater energies, that kind of prayer is a prayer of manifestation. A lot of us use prayer to bargain. I promise, if you do this for me, then I will do this forever. And sometimes, because of the intensity of the emotion, sometimes those kinds of prayers actually come to fruition, but for sure, I think prayer is definitely an expression of a desire for something. However, when we, like, the most powerful prayer, I believe, and this is a working hypothesis, not fact, but is the prayer, the kind of prayer where we presence ourselves to our connection with the wheelworks of the universe, whether you call it God or you call it nature or higher self, whatever that is. When we're present to that connection, that's the most powerful prayer there is. And in my context, not saying that has to be the case for you. And Jenny says, my fridge is scary, LOL. So you know what? That's a great challenge, is to take on the fridge. to be able to face that fear and clear out the fridge, and wow, what can come of that is just really liberating, because it can be a symbolic act, to clear out the fridge. It can be a symbolic act for facing your fear and for facing, like, and literally creating space, creating expansiveness. That's a powerful thing. Bernadette says, 12 years ago, I moved to the other side of Canada. I only took with me what could fit in my car. Oh my gosh, Bernadette, purged 50 years. And even though it was hard during the moment, it was euphoric. Bernadette, that's freaking remarkable. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Good for you. Amazing. Rosalind says, reply, it's been raining and the soil is soft. It's a good time to till the earth around plants and add amendments and to cut off the dead vegetation to make the plant grow back stronger. Love that metaphor, love the reality of it. And that's what we're really talking about right now, is taking that opportunity to prune and tend the soil and release the dead vegetation, etc. So Jenny says, Louise Hay, teacher, gathered the people in the, I'm thinking in the, in the women's group, and different stations, a few of them were making a blessing jar, and we all made dream boards. Oh, I love that, Jenny. So the dream boards are really powerful because they allow us to visualize our intentions. And I love the idea of a blessing jar. How beautiful. And Jenny says, being aware of your blessings, 100%. Being aware of our blessings. That's really what we're looking. Jenny says, it's the growing potatoes and onions in the drawers, plant seeds. Yes, so that's what we're talking about, is really tilling the soil, looking at what does the soil need, what are the things that the soil is bringing forth, what kind of amendments to the soil would be beneficial, what are we looking to plant. And so I think that's it for today. Very exciting to be talking about this, taking stock, not with judgment, but looking for the treasures, and even the treasures in the tragedies, because they're there. And with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and we go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN One with the Earth, Enlightened World Living. And Jenny says, fertilizer and a nurturing. Exactly. So with that richness, let's take that into the day and give ourselves an opportunity to take stock and see where we are. And so much love to you. Until next time, I hope to see you again here really